But that's when I like you guys, because when you go and take pictures and videos before you go, or the party pics, because for me, you know, like I love seeing that one. It's just amazing to see, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love working with you guys. It's just you always do that, and not everybody does.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have another guest in the studio. Today we have Stephan Gonthier, who is a DJ here in Ottawa, who's happily joining us in the studio to talk a little bit about how he got to be to where he is today. And I'm really excited to have you here, so welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Always great to see you guys.
Yeah. I wanted to also chat a little bit about how we met, because I feel like I've known you for a long time, or we've known you for a long time, but it wasn't until, I guess, 2022 when we finally got to work together.
That's true.
And of course, like I do, I come in kind of like a, you know, bull in a china shop, just, hey, I need this from you, I need this from you. Yeah. And you're like, got it, got it, got it. You rolled with the punches really well, and you obviously just impressed the shit out of me. Let's just put it out there. It was, honestly, it was such a good experience. We had so much fun that day.
We did.
And that day I don't think would have gone as smoothly if you hadn't have been there, so. Really, really great to have worked with you on that one. And then we've since been able to work together a lot since then, which is so exciting. Yes,
no, it's been, you know, I think over the years we've crossed paths so many times, but kind of far, not necessarily, you know, face to face or anything like that. It's like, hey, I recognize you. And then we probably see each other like at meetups and all that, like, you know, like when the Belvedere hosts, you know, vendors. And then here we are. Finally, 2022, we worked together, and it's been blossoming since.
Exactly. And what I love about working with you is that you always bring the energy, and I feel like that is the type of people that we are as well, and that's why we get along so well.
It's true. Yeah, the energy that you bring. I even commented on one of your posts today, and I said my favorite things about you is also the aesthetics, how clean and crisp everything is, and that just speaks to how professional you are. And I've just, every time I see you at a wedding, I go, I know I'm going to be well taken care of in that area.
And we're going to also have a good time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that, I think, it's at the end of the day, people don't realize that sort of relationship that vendors can have is a big deal. When vendors are really good at working together, it just makes the whole day really easy.
Like, it makes it easy for the couple or for the clients that hire us. But also, you know, for us, it's a lot more fun. You know, we'll bring elements to the day that, you know, you may not get otherwise.
Yeah. Because we just vibe off each other. So
correct, yeah. And then we bounce ideas. Hey, we should do this, we should do that. And then go.
I'll never forget. Okay, they're changing outfits. I need you to play a song. You're like, cool, got it. And I was like, okay, we got it. And then I go to the couple, I'm like, he's going to play a cool song. They're like, cool. And then he did. And it was an epic song. So
they came in like with hands in the air. And I remember you got the shot with their like sneakers and all that. That was so much fun.
Yeah. And I mean, that was kind of even before the big trend of the second outfit kind of came in. And that was really cool because we were able to do it in like a fun, unique way. And of course, we've since repeated that because it was super fun.
I wish we could do that every weekend.
Exactly, right?
Well, don't wish too soon, because, you know, that specifically, but we're about to get into wedding season where it's going to be every weekend.
Yeah, very soon. A couple months.
Exactly. All right, so we already know your name, and we know that you DJ, because I know you do other things as well. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, and maybe a little bit about how long you've been doing it as well.
Yeah, so I started DJing, you know, let's just say more than 25 years ago. I don't want to age myself too much. Since then, I built a business from that point, right? So in 2001, officially on paper, the company Dynamix Productions was established. And then, you know, at the time, I kind of started the business to kind of write off equipment. I was young, you know, it's like not really thinking more than that. It's just, okay, we're going to do this. Working in nightclubs, doing some events or school dances here and there. And then over time, kind of brought new services along the way.
Okay, and so you chose Dynamix right from the very beginning. So it's been Dynamix this whole time? This whole time,
yeah. Since 2001, the name hasn't changed. To be honest with you, if you look at my logo, it hasn't changed either, because I find it still very relevant, very current. So, you know, when you make the right choice, it's like Apple, you know, the Apple brand, they still haven't really changed their logo over the years. It's the same idea. I was like, I nailed it down.
It's so interesting that it's been Dynamix the whole time, like you said, in the same logo and everything. And I do think it's very applicable. It did age well, I guess is the
Yeah,
best way.
absolutely, totally. You're absolutely right on that.
And I love that. I think that it's like vintage now, you know?
Almost.
Aged like wine.
Yeah, I like that. It's so funny. Side note here, we actually bought a car this year, and because it was over 20 years old, and it was actually considered vintage. So I don't know if anybody knows that, but that was a new thing for me. So essentially, your business is now vintage.
Okay. Still with a modern look, thankfully.
Yes. But tell us a little bit about what got you in. So like before you started DJing, what were you doing before? I would love to sort of chat through kind of how you got to...
Even if you'd had any education on DJing or if you learned in person, how did that evolve?
What I could say is music was always part of what everything that was ingrained into me. When I was younger, I was raised with ABBA playing in the background, the Beatles and all that. My parents really liked that. So it was always in my entourage. So music was always big and all that. I started collecting vinyl in the early 90s. And then that's when I actually discovered more and more different styles of music. And DJing has been part of most of my life. So it's kind of hard to say what I was doing before, because I started so young. Before DJing, there was not a whole lot for me, because music was always part of who I am and kind of my identity, if you like. And then when I turned 18, then I started working in nightclubs. Okay. So I worked in nightclubs for about 12 years. And I did multiple nightclubs in the area, with younger crowd, older crowd, to be able to go from, back then to 90s, 2000s, to some hip hop, to some EDM and things like that. Really built to where I am today as a DJ, being able to be versatile and rotate the dance floor. The owners of a nightclub make money when the bar is busy, but the DJ likes to have a busy dance floor, but the bar needs to make money. So I remember one time there was the club owners like, rotate the floor. Like, rotate the floor. That means, send people to the bar so we can make money, because the whole bar was empty, but the dance floor was packed, right? For me, it's awesome, right? But it was not good for him. So then you throw in what I call a B song. So it kind of, it's good for some people. People would be like, oh, you know what, let's just go get a drink or go somewhere else.
I don't like this song.
I don't like this song. Let's move on. So it's always very, timely, right?
Oh, now that makes so much sense. Now when I think about it, at the bars, you're like, why are they playing this song? Now I get it.
The bar's got to make money.
Okay, because I feel like that happened. Don't you feel like that happens? Like whenever we went to clubs? I don't know if you really think about it that way. But
I didn't club as much as you did.
Yeah, I clubbed a lot. I was the girl dancing on speakers, that's for sure.
Nice. A DJ would be like, yeah.
Maybe you were even DJing when I was there.
Who knows? Who knows?
Because you're always Ottawa-based?
Ottawa-Gatineau-based, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, maybe.
Well, when you said you started at 18, I'm assuming, could you DJ in Ottawa bars at 18?
No, not quite. So
yeah,
I was on the
Quebec
side.
Yeah, okay.
On the Quebec side, yeah.
What are some club names from back then that you remember?
The first one I did was called Le Fou du Roi.
Okay.
Then I went to the Ottawa side and stayed there for a number of years. It was called back then Griffin's. Okay. That was on Elgin Street. Now it's called, it's no longer a nightclub, but the restaurant now is called Sir Johnny. Okay. So that used to be a nightclub back then, but I DJ'd at, other places like the Fire Station. I DJ'd at On Tap. I DJ'd at Pub en Ville, Pub 101, Minglewoods. On the Quebec side was Lounge 426.
426, I remember that one.
Yeah, Loft 455 too. I don't know if you remember that.
Le Bop.
Le Bop, yeah. I might have DJ'd a few times there. That's very far. Also La Boîte à Chansons, which is more like, bands on stage and then DJ set in between, when they're not playing. So
I don't remember a lot of people that actually know 426. I mentioned that because it didn't stay around for too long from what I remember, but they had like $2 beers or something. And that just kept us coming back to that place.
Yeah, it was like on Tuesdays or something. So it was just
it's an off night, right?
It would be an off night, but everyone would go.
Right.
Right, all university kids.
It was near the casino, right? Like
that's
around that area.
Yeah.
That's
in the basement.
How did you get from clubs to wanting to do events, corporate or weddings?
Being a nightclub DJ, you can only go so long. For me, it was a natural transition because when I was stopping to DJ at Griffin's, back then I was gradually taking some weddings and events here and there on weekends. So I would get a replacement. And then, when 2008 roughly hit, I was like, okay, you know what? It's time to move on from the clubs over to the events. So I started going that way. And at that point, I got a job. One of the only full-time jobs I had was at the RCMP as a civilian member. So that kind of funded my DJing. Because at the time, I didn't really have like a big mortgage or anything like that. So I could, invest whatever I had left in terms of building the business. Okay. Getting a website, getting new gear, getting whatever it was needed at the time. 2012 is when I became full-time where we are today.
Okay, so you only had a real job for 4 years, essentially.
Roughly. There was a few contracts here and there where I work at La Cité Collégiale on the AV side of things, but it was always contract. It was never like full-time. Okay. So the RCMP was really like four and a half years.
Did you go to school? Like university or college?
I did college in hotel management.
Okay, yeah. So did not using that.
For a few months only, and then that was not for me. So moving on.
And did you receive like any pushback from like family or anything about becoming a DJ? Were they like, what are you doing?
My dad, he was very rough on me for that. Because he's military based. Always very stable. Then he worked at the RCMP too, and finance and all that. So it was like very regimented and all that. But yeah, a little bit of pushback, but I kept on pushing because it was something I like doing, and it's part of who I am. It's my passion. So
I'm curious, how much would you make as like a club DJ? Like even, I don't even know, maybe even now, like as a club DJ, how much do people, I have no clue how much they make.
Yeah, you have to remember, like we're talking, a good amount of time back. So back then I would get probably 120 a night to 200 a night, depending on where I was DJing and what night. So
I mean, that's not bad.
It's not bad when you think of it. In today's money, it would probably be like $400 or $500, so yeah.
But that's a lot of long hours at night, right? Like you really have to change your whole schedule to make sure.
Correct. And then when you're DJing in Gatineau, you're going until 2 or 3 a.m. So it's, by the time you get home, it's 4 or 5 a.m.
But you didn't have to work during the week, kind of like now, essentially.
In some cases, yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like now, this guy's always working.
It's true.
Yeah. By the time you get home, I'm still DJing until 1,
Oh, I know. Do most venues end at 1? Is that kind of the standard you see across all the venues?
In the last few years, yes, but I feel like there's a change happening.
Oh, in what way?
Where venues want to close earlier.
Oh.
Yeah, so midnight is coming almost like the norm for some venues in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because like I mean, we leave at 9, sometimes 10. Mm-hmm. That's not a lot of time. You know what I mean? Like that really the couple isn't trying to get wasted. Not that maybe they aren't trying to get wasted at all, but they're not trying to really like enjoy themselves until we leave, right? For the most part. That's
true. But that's when I like you guys, because when you go and take pictures and videos before you go, or the party pics, because for me, like I love seeing that one. It's just amazing to see, right? Yeah. And that's one thing I love working with you guys. It's just you always do that, and not everybody does.
Well, it's this symbiotic relationship between us and the DJ and the couple to try to get it going, because we always educate our couples. The 30 minutes that the floor opens, you need to get everyone on there as best you can. And it doesn't always work out. No. You don't always take that advice. But I think it's really important, and then, the mix between the good DJ playing, the couple being a part of it. Same with the wedding party. You always say, like, if they're not on the dance floor, then, like, why would anyone else want to go? So it's one of our favorite parts, definitely, is the party side.
Yeah,
so.
And I tell all the couples as well that add some element of fun, right? Like, I'm sure you've seen that lots with the glow sticks or the sunglasses. There's all kinds of things that are coming out right now. Also, you're getting, like, the older generation who's probably going to leave around 10 p.m. They're going to be on the dance floor, too, right? Sort of at that time. So it's kind of nice because you get the parents, you get the grandmas, you get the bridal party, the couple. It's so beautiful. And be able to capture that, like there's nothing better than seeing like dancing grandmas and grandpas in a video. Yeah. Like it's my favorite part.
Yeah. It makes it very intimate,
Yeah. And then it's like you see grandma, all cute earlier, and then her like, having a good time on the dance floor is so much fun.
That's why sometimes it bugs me when certain DJs have like the 10 songs that they open up to every single wedding. And it doesn't always translate into a packed dance floor. You got to read the room a little bit. Or it's not just energetic songs that are just kind of feel-good songs that people can sing to. I think they need to change that, you know?
Yeah. For me, I look at their list because through our app, they provide a list of music that they would like me to play. So I try to look in there, okay, what would be a good banger to start with, right? Because you want to start with, because everybody now is on the floor in most cases already at the end of the first dances. Yeah. So starting with a banger that's how I do it. Yeah. Here's a nugget, that's how I do it. For me, kind of finding that right banger, if they have it in the list, I will. Otherwise, maybe there's going to be a lead-up song that they have. I'm going to be able to start with this, but lead up with a song that they have here. So that's, how I tend to do it.
Yeah, I like that you also kind of read the room. And for instance, one of the weddings we shot together this past season was they were like really vibing to like Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears, that kind of stuff. And you just were throwing all of that in there. Like you could tell, like, I don't know if that's what your plan was originally, but you could tell that they were just all singing it. Everyone was dancing really, really hard. And then you just kind of mixed in another one. And then you could tell they just couldn't even leave, right? Like even if they wanted to, they were like, but this is so good, and I think that that's really important to kind of read. And, it's not a nightclub, so we don't have to worry about them getting drinks. I'm guessing the venues don't come up to you and say...
No, I've never seen that,
no.
thankfully.
Because you imagine?
It's like, I don't work for you.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah,
true.
So interesting. I really, that's such a cool thing that I had no idea that, of course, that makes sense, right?
And just quickly to go back on your point of the night, finishing earlier and earlier, but let's say if you talk to US vendors, they finish way earlier than we do.
True.
Like in Ottawa it's like midnight or 1, like I was saying, but in the US it's 10 to 11 p.m. at most. Yeah. Their day might have started slightly earlier, but everything is just much more compact. So you're lucky if you're getting 2.5 hours of dancing. In the US.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's true, because they do like an exit thing. So most photographers, videographers are staying for the getaway, the exit, the whatever. We kind of do like fake ones now. Whenever we do sparklers or whatever, it's kind of like a fake thing.
Send off or something.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really send anybody off here, but yeah, essentially that's what they do in the States. Well, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. All of the weddings that we've been to, even the ones that they have ended at 1, I'm like, I'm just getting started. I don't know. But
that's because we're still there at 1 o'clock. Yeah. I'm just getting started.
It's true. Maybe
we're supposed to be off the clock since 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah, still there.
What would you say, I'm just curious, as a total side note, what would you say the average amount of time that photo video stays here, like in your experience? Do you see like a 10 o'clock or 9?
I've seen 8:30. 8:30 is cutting it a bit short, depending on which venue we're working at. Because by then we're at the end of speeches and whatnot. So I find 9:30, 10 o'clock is usually the sweet spot, and that I see in most cases. Okay. But I do see from time to time where, the photographer is going to have to go see the couple. It's like, hey, do you want me to stay for the last half hour so I get, your first dance and so on. So, and that makes it a bit of an awkward moment in some cases. It's like, hey, do you want to pay me for the extra half hour? It's like, yes, but
Yeah, well, we actually do tell our clients, like, we make a timeline. Things can go sideways. If there is going to be events that we know you want covered, we'll kind of come to you, half an hour before we're supposed to leave and say, hey, what do you want to do? Because at the same time, we can try and squish as many events in 30 minutes, or you ask us to stay an extra half an hour, whatever it is. So we're very upfront with people in that case. Like we're not just like, okay, we're staying, here's the bill.
No, exactly.
But I'm sure you've probably seen that where it's like, okay, now you have to do back to back to back to back all these things.
Which I've done before. I'm totally fine in doing it. Just sometimes it's a bit. There's not a lot of breathing room.
Yeah,
so
it sucks,
it's a bit tougher.
Yeah.
And on that point, what if somebody is getting married at like a private estate at the home and they fired you? Your contract ends at 1. At 1 o'clock, they ask you to stay longer. Do you, even though there's bylaws or any of that?
Bylaws at 11.
I understand that, yeah, but do you push it and do you accept that and go till like 2, 3?
It's part of my contract. There's a line in my contract that says if we go past past this time or whatever time I'm hired until, it's this much per hour.
Yeah, we do the same.
So
Yeah.
it's the
So
easiest
as long
way.
as if they're just saying, yeah, we're willing to pay it, then you're like, yep, I'm willing to stay.
Yeah, if I don't have an event the next day, I'll stay. If I have an event the next day, I'll be like, you know what, let's finish with a banger. I really have to get going.
Because then you have to pack up all your stuff afterwards,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
So,
people don't realize, we're usually DJs are the first one in, last one out, right?
Yeah. How long does it take you to set up generally and take down? Like, I'm curious. I have no idea how long that takes.
It depends how much gear we have. With our custom DJ table furniture, it takes a bit longer than it used to. Yeah. But the look and feel is worth 1,000% that extra time. In most cases, I'd say about 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Okay.
It depends how easy it's to get into the venue. Depends how much gear. 45 minutes, I'm usually ready to go.
and is that, for example, if someone hires you, is it an hourly rate they usually pay you, or is it a package that they get? Because sometimes we say we start shooting at 1 to 9, but we get there half an hour early to make sure we set up everything, and then when we start at 1, that's when we're shooting. Is it the same for you, or is your prep time
It's
built
not
in?
Yeah, it's not included, but I call it free setup and takedown.
Okay.
So it's the performance time that they're technically hiring me for.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
it's
we do the same.
it's the easiest way.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to be like, okay, so you hire me for 6 hours, but I need 2 hours of setup, so it's actually 8 hours that you're hiring me. But that's the thing that people don't understand when we price ourselves, is it's because we do all of that other stuff.
And it's not only just setting up or showing up. Like the gear needs to get into the car, the vehicle, some way, somehow. You got to prep it, you got to charge the mics and all that, and making sure everything works, charge the speaker, charge the uplights.
Yeah.
We're using a lot of stuff that's battery based now. It's, these things needs to get done ahead of time, right? Especially in the DJ, like video and photography, you guys have been using batteries forever, but us on the DJ side, uplights or battery operated speakers is fairly-ish new in the industry, right?
I want to talk about that more, because I think that is something that you do so well when it comes to the aesthetic. I know that not everybody does what you do, but what I love about it is that it's such a clean setup that you have, right? You have your uplights that are wireless, your speakers that are wireless, right?
Some of them, yeah.
It's just such a small footprint versus, the black wires everywhere, the taping. I'm sure you can relate to that on all points that I'm saying, but
The, like stretchy cloth things that DJs use.
Yeah, those scrims, yeah.
And it just looks rough, like, let's just put it out there. It looks, messy, right? Especially when we come in, we're like, oh gosh, where are we going to put stuff, Because there's a lot of stuff here, right? Talk to me about that. Is that something that you just sort of decided to do on your own? Because I'm sure it's more expensive to go that route, right?
It is, but my philosophy with what I do is less is more. Mm-hmm. And what you don't need to see, you don't need to see, and you will not see it. Yeah. So, when you're looking at my setup, you'll see this MacBook Pro as the front of the table, and then you'll see my DJ controller. But underneath, under the skin, if you like, there's a whole lot more happening. So there's a wireless microphone receiver that's connected. It's either, depending on which table model I'm using, because I have 2 different models now. One is like tucked like right in this kind of space, and then the antennas are going down. That's one of them. And then also I have my DMX 2 wireless. So I have a transmitter and also a DMX dongle to USB underneath there. That's all talking to each other, that syncs to the beat of the music and all that. So, and then if I'm using wireless speakers, then I have another dongle or technology that goes into there too. There's a whole lot.
But what made you kind of go that way? Is it because you wanted to just sort of clean lines, or because I'm assuming you must have had equipment like that before that we're talking about, like the very big.
Yes. Yes, I had the big speakers. I no longer have those because there's no business model for me to need that. And if I need really big speakers, I'm just going to rent them if I have that large corporate event and whatnot. But for weddings, I'm OCD, right? So I think we're all entrepreneurs OCD in some capacity. For me, I like the cleanliness. You know what I mean? I don't like the bulky stuff, and we don't need the bulky stuff today. The way the equipment is designed, the way the speaker technology is designed, you just don't need it anymore. Yeah. At least for most weddings.
Would you say that your footprint is a lot smaller too than it was before, like in terms of space?
It is, yeah. So with my DJ table, it's probably like 4 foot long, and then you're adding speakers on each side, probably an extra 2 feet per speaker. Yeah. So, the width is about 8 feet, 8 to 10 feet, depending on, where I'm set up. Okay. So before you would have had a 6 foot table, plus the speakers, plus maybe a tripod with lights. Yeah. Now with the uplights, and you tuck them in an area that, is strategic. And that's part of the design of the room or part of the lighting design period. Boom, you go.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I like it too because sometimes we don't have a choice to include the DJ booth in some of the photos that we take or videos. Right. Because obviously aesthetics is a big part of their selling point. And people can't imagine when they're booking a certain venue that there's going to be a DJ set up here. Sometimes it doesn't go very well with the aesthetics of the room. For example, like the NAC, which is really like bright and white, and your setup obviously looks really great because it's all light colors. But we've had some where, that dark 6 foot table that has like a black cloth on it, and it's hard not to notice. Yeah. Let's just say that, right?
It just doesn't blend in, I think, as well. And to Luke's point, where we sometimes will have to shoot in that direction. It's nice when it's not like this unsightly type of look, right? I really do believe that it is worthwhile for that overall feel of everything, especially when people are spending a lot of money. It's nice. You don't want to have this like random table that just, these big speakers with massive wires and all that stuff. It just doesn't look as nice.
And also the type of clientele that I typically attract and that I get luckily is they want that white, clean look anyway, right? So the white speakers, the white uplights, the white table, down to the DJ controller is white.
I love it. I love it. When it comes to your business, have you made any pivots? Has there been any kind of real changes that you've had to make?
Not changing route per se, but, trying to think out of the box or trying to think, okay, what would my clients need from me that could be an all-in service? One of these services was when it was introduced back in 2015, it was the photo booth. Since then, we had 3 different generations of photo booth. So the third one we have today is amazing, is exactly what I would have liked to have 9 years ago. Back then, it was not the case. It was not available. And it would have been super expensive to build something even close to that. So the photo booth was really one of the things I did. And then the year after, it was introducing the DIY DJ. Okay. So DIY DJ is a very small percentage of what we offer, but it's there for clients that want to do their own music. Like I have all this equipment and that's sitting in my storage unit that's not being used. So instead of having it sit there, I'm either going to go myself, set it up, or have one of my team.
And when people inquire with you, do you find that like they're asking for that service specifically, like they know that that's what you offer, or are they kind of like, I'm curious how that works out. Like, is it something where it's like maybe they inquire with you, maybe you're outside their budget or whatever it is, do you then like offer this? Like, I'm curious how that works for you.
Typically, when they inquire about DJ, they want DJ. Okay. They want somebody there behind the decks. Typically, I find that clients that want the DIY DJ is probably either a client that, the entertainment may or may not be as important for them, or they don't want to spend that kind of money, which I totally get. Or it could be they have a DJ friend, that's going to bring their own DJ controller, and all they need is somebody to come, set up the sound system, a small mixer with a wired mic and some basic lights, and that will do the trick for them. I booked somebody recently for an event next year at the NAC, and they're going to have the DIY DJ. Okay. And, it's not very common for the NAC to have that rental product. Yeah. Because I find most times when they want that rental product, it's more like either a backyard wedding, a tent wedding, or it could be, just, a lunch or something like that, a lunch wedding, something like that.
They just need some like music for the ceremony, a microphone for some speeches, and that's kind of it, right?
Yeah, that's kind of it. And then they'll do their own playlist because they provide their own device to play their music, so they'll have a laptop with Spotify or Apple Music.
Yeah. Do you find that you get quite a few bookings in like your photo booth, your DIY DJ as well? Like, do you find that those are equally as busy, or I'm assuming the DJ you're the most busy busy
Yes,
with.
that's a bread and butter.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Photo booth, I find, if they're looking for a photo booth, they'll book both. Okay. And we have different tier. We have a digital only photo booth, or we'll have, let's just call it an all-in photo booth where you have the digital, but you also have the prints and all the bells and whistles that are part of it too. So the photo booth is like, in terms of revenue, it would be the DJ, photo booth, sound beats, which I haven't talked about yet, and then the DIY
DJ.
Yeah.
All right, well, you talked about it, so let's talk about silent beats, because I feel like that is, how many people have messaged us? Even Luke's dad just messaged us. He's in Mexico, and they just had a silent beats there at the club or whatever.
Yeah, there's 2 separate DJs, and you could tell they were playing different songs, and you could choose what you wanted to listen to, which is kind of cool.
Talk to us about that. How does that even work? Like, is that like a company that you kind of buy these things from? Like, I literally have no clue.
So we're the supplier for Canada. Typically the way it works is somebody that wants to do a sound party, let's say in your backyard here.
Okay.
So, and you don't want to disturb all the neighbors. You may want to invite them, but you don't want to disturb everybody around. So you'll have, let's say, 2 or 3 DJs, like I think you guys throw parties for Canada Day. You'd have 3 DJs spinning, and then everybody can switch channels and all that back and forth. And then, it becomes kind of a DJ battle.
Okay.
But it's kind of cool. Like, let's say you're having a tent wedding, but then you can go past 11 because of the bylaws, especially in a specific region. Let's say you're in Prince Edward County. They have bylaws that are pretty strict over there, so they got to finish at 11, especially if you're outside. So going past that time, our headphones come super handy, right? So that business started back in 2016. Okay. So it's been a minute. Yeah. It's been a minute. Funny enough, I met my business partner because I have a business partner for that. He's in Niagara Falls. Okay. We met in Las Vegas during a DJ conference back in 2016. Okay. Yeah.
And would you say that it's growing, that side of the business, or do you feel like it's kind of been the same? I mean, I'm curious. Like, I think I've put them on one time. I think I've done it one time that I can think of in a nightclub years ago.
Did you guys try it out at the Wedding Awards years ago?
Oh, yes. Maybe I did do it. That was those yours?
Those were mine. Yes.
Yeah.
We had 3 DJs in the lobby. You remember?
Okay. Yeah. I remember. I was usually very, a few drinks in on those events.
Okay, perfect. As you should.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I love that. Okay. So there was like definitely different DJs going, and you got all different kinds of sounds and stuff. How come they had to do it at the hotel? Was it because they weren't allowed to go past a certain time, or I'm curious about that?
It was more like a promo. Okay. I wanted to kind of make people aware that we had the product here. Okay. At that point, I think when we did that was 2018, 2017.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID for sure. So we wanted to kind of put that on the radar for everyone. Okay. People were still discovering that because it's still fairly-ish new concept. Your parents are talking about it. Like people that go to Mexico, they try it out. They think it's going to be super awkward because you're going to have your headphones, but you're dancing to a different beat or a song, whatever, but you're still dancing together. People think it's awkward, but until you actually try it out.
Yeah, it's super cool.
But he took a video, and it's a little bit funny because you can hear them singing the song, but they're just like singing out loud, super loud, because they also can't hear anything with each other. But when you're outside of it, looking at it, it looks a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, if you're trying to enjoy your moment or for specific reasons, like practical reasons. Have you ever sold a hybrid package where they hired you and then you did the silent beats later on in the evening?
Yeah. Patrick, my business partner, he's in Niagara Falls, as I was saying, so he does a lot of work in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Again, that's an area that there is bylaws at certain venues. Okay. So we have a video that they did at the time where you see the beginning of the night just regular, and then they transition over to a silent party after, and they had 2 DJs. So it is definitely a thing. It's very, very cool.
I think that's so awesome. And I mean, I think there's even, now that the idea of the venues going earlier, I'm curious, with the silent beats, would that be something, have you ever seen that where they would let them go later? Like
maybe. Okay. I'm thinking, what comes to my thought when you say that is the venue in Ottawa 22 inside the Westin, where they do have some noise issues. Yeah. So the sound disco headphones or the silent beats would be perfect for that. It would resolve 90% of their problems, if not more.
I almost feel like that should be something they provide, right?
Or offer it.
Or offer.
You want to go past this time, you got to book this.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe you should talk to them.
That's true. Little partnership.
Yeah, because I think, there are venues that have preferred people. If you're offering a service where people don't realize almost until the wedding day, maybe even it's like, it sucks that you have to finish early.
Especially when you're at the height, the peak of the night, then it's like,
oh, that must be, you must see that all the time. It must be, do you feel like people are still ready to go?
Sometimes at 1, they're ready to go still. They'll do a couple of encores and I'll be like, okay, one more song, done. That song's done. One more song. It's like, okay, one last thing, guys.
You're like, I'm not Shania Twain,
No, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can imagine. And they're drunk, right? I'm assuming most people are probably like drunk and just like, one more. Oh man. I know you've talked about a couple of things that you've had to change or make decisions to go a different route. Has there been any other pivots that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, especially during COVID. A lot of us in the industry had to reanalyze our businesses, our business model, our expenses. Yeah. And that's specifically what I want to talk about today. I figured out a way of saving about $60,000 annually by removing services or products that I was paying for, subscriptions that I was paying for that were not necessary, without cutting back on the client experience or the quality that they were getting and all that. So I figured out, okay, let's remove all these things and save money here. So the biggest chunk for me that I saved money on was the CRM I was using at the time. I was using HubSpot. And that's a big CRM that, costs a lot of money. But for me, the reason I did that at the time, I had an office manager helping me out with emails and quotes and all that, and all the back-end stuff. I actually decided to replace her with a CRM. Okay. So I was like going from a, let's say, $40,000 salary to a $22,000 CRM. That made sense. But when COVID hit and you have no business, you got to figure out something to do to save more money. So I took that CRM out the door, put a new one in place that's costing me about $55 US a month. Okay. Probably similar price to what you guys are paying.
Big difference in price
Big
there,
difference.
right?
22. When you're saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never.
Yeah, but then I had to, convert from one tool over to about 3 tools. Okay. So instead of, being 22,000 Canadian, now it's $950 annually Canadian dollars. Saving a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Is that just like a common tool that DJs use? Like, I'm curious, how did you, like, even as like a new business owner, that would be like a big chunk to take on, to add like a $22,000, expense every year. Like, tell me, is that like a common, I don't know.
No, definitely not. And I know some DJs that don't even have a CRM. I don't know how they manage their business because I don't see myself not having one. For me, I decided, okay, let's go for this. I analyzed a bunch of CRMs. I tried a bunch and, that one seemed to be making the most sense. Okay. Plus, they're really good at selling stuff. So, they sold me on it, and then here we were.
Wow, you saved a lot of money there. Yeah. I mean, we love CRMs. We've talked a lot about it. We use one very regularly, and it definitely, I don't know how people do it without, because like you said, there's so many benefits to having everything in one place, having a system that's also repeatable, right, for your clients, so that everyone's getting kind of the same experience. They're getting all the information that they need, especially in a timing that makes sense. That's the biggest thing for us, is that we have 3 kids. You have a kid. There's lots of stuff that's going on in the background, and we all have busy lives. I'm not going to remember to send you an email 6 months before your wedding to remind you about something, if that makes sense, right? So a CRM really allows for professionals to be able to manage their business, I think, more effectively than they possibly ever could.
And also get the tasks, a task being assigned to you at the right time, when you're this much close to the event. So that way you don't forget, because you're managing so many events, you're managing your life, you're managing your kids. Yeah. And, having this, making sure you don't drop the ball.
How many DJ events would you say you have, like, for weddings in a year, or even corporate and weddings put together?
For me, my sweet spot, if I have, let's say, 3 weddings a month and let's say 2 to 3 corporate events a month, I'm good. I do usually more than that, just because sometimes I'll do 2 back-to-back, let's say Friday, Saturday. I try not to do more than that because otherwise it's hard to come back from that. I'm too exhausted and I'm just a zombie, so I don't do those anymore like that. I'd say on average I probably do a total of 40 to 50 events a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's busy.
Yeah, that's busy.
a lot of weekends.
Yeah.
That's about how many different clients that we take on a year, and that's why I was getting to, like, the CRM does become really important at that point. Another question is, I know a lot of DJ companies will hire out or have a team. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever used a team? Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, before to finish the COVID point is, before COVID, I actually had a team of DJs, and as we all know, it decimated the industry for a number of years. A couple of DJs that I had, one decided to stop, and then the other one left with his wife to go work abroad. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I had to decide, okay, where am I going? What am I doing? So I analyzed and decided, instead of having a team or build a team again from scratch and having to train everyone, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to do what I do best. And I'm just going to, offer my services exclusively and be more premium than most other companies in town, and then just differentiate from what I'm doing. That was a good decision.
Yeah. Do you think that you'd ever look into it again if you found somebody that might be like the right fit? I'm curious. Like, I feel like as business owners, we see something that's been really good, but then like the right opportunity came around. Like, would that ever sort of spark your interest, do you think, in the future?
I can't say it's part of my exit plan, which I have not really an exit plan. That's another conversation, I think, from another time. If it comes to that, maybe I'd be more like a talent agency if I stop DJing at some point.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of more like the manager side of it, and then you would just be kind of booking people, but then sending different people so that you don't have to be out till 2, 3 in the morning all the time.
Yeah.
Because that must be like, we talk about a wedding hangover, right?
Yeah.
Yours must be way more intense.
Yeah, Gatorade has become my friend. Seriously.
So pro tip, Gatorade.
Gatorade, before you go to bed, just a couple of sips, and then the morning after, coffee and Gatorade. Top notch.
And you're good? Like, do you find it's like, do you sleep in? Like, I'm curious, how do you get back, from that? Like, do you have like a routine that you kind of...
I try to sleep 8 hours. Okay. That's my trick.
So you get home at 3, say you would try and sleep 8 hours from 3 a.m.?
3 until, about 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And then if I have the wedding again, just make sure I'm all organized. If I need to go pick up equipment, I'm going to do it on the way back. If I'm going elsewhere in another direction, rotate the equipment. Because sometimes, I do need to go to my storage unit, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Bring equipment, get whatever I need for the next day. And
charge everything.
Yeah.
That's for us is the hardest part, is getting home, unloading everything, checking everything is uploading, charging everything, and then repacking it all. That's Luke's job, but yeah. I don't worry about it so much, but...
Yeah. I manage the data, and I charge everything. I unpack everything. Then I repack it the next day. And you get to just be pretty.
Yeah, I just
You're
have to look pretty.
Yeah.
Bring your glowing energy.
My personality, my personality. I'm hoping that DJs who are perhaps interested in learning how to do what you do are listening, because I think that would be a really good thing for them to hear your journey. If they are, I would love for you to share any tips or tricks you would have, if you could kind of go back, in time and give yourself tips or tricks. What would you say would be the biggest things that a newer person getting into this industry should be doing?
Start small and then build from there. And then learn mistakes as you go, because you will, unfortunately, make some. We all did, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We have a lot.
And you guys, it's documented.
Or not.
Or not.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Would you say that, from those mistakes, they've really helped you get to like that next level? Like, is it just sort of figuring out, okay, well, this really, really worked? Or I'm curious sort of how you kind of got to where you are in that sense. Was it through trial and error, or was it kind of just, did you have a mentor? Was there any of that kind of stuff?
Everything is self-taught.
Okay.
Everything is self-taught. Take what I know and then build from that. Always try to learn and keep an edge. You know what I mean?
Get better.
Get better. It's either like on the mixing side of things, using the technology better that we have available nowadays. Because back then, like when I started, it was not even close to what we are today. We're carrying crates of CDs or vinyl. Anyway, I'm aging myself. Once you've learned those lessons, you want to expand on them. And once you're good at doing something and you've established all your processes and then you know where you're headed, your business is growing and all that, at that point, start thinking of maybe adding more services like I did. You know what I mean? Like I was DJing for so many years until I became full-time in 2012. It took me over a decade to be able to get to that point. But then afterwards, gradually I added more services. If you remember, I talked about adding a photo booth in 2015, and in 2016 adding DIY DJ, then also in 2016 adding the Silent Beats events. And now we are where we are today, where I've added DJ furniture to the service. That's not something you'd necessarily want to do too quickly, because what's your look and feel that you want? Do you want to have what everybody has? Do you want to build custom, which is what I do? What do you want to do? What you want to do.
I know you said you're self-taught, but where did you learn the most? Was it from experience, or did you attend certain courses yourself? And how did that education piece, where did you learn more about business or learn more about mixing? Like who were some of your inspiration?
So DJing in nightclubs really helped me to learn the techniques behind the actual mixing, because today you can use the technology and press sync, and then the computer is going to do the magic up to a certain point.
Okay.
Not fully, but up to a certain point. So for me back then it was like CDs and vinyl. Back then it was like hands-on. If you were not on, you were off. It sounded like shoes in the dryer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
It's completely off. You know what I mean? So technology-wise, we have it available today. That's where I started mixing, and then gradually adding the laptop element and building from that. On the business side of things, me was attending DJ conferences, or conferences as a whole, or being part of different business associations, doing networking and all that. And connecting with like-minded individuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you find that networking has, when you first started getting into it, did you find success right away networking, or have you been to a few different conferences before you kind of figured out where to go, who to talk to?
On the networking side of things, I thought the feeling I was getting from a lot of the people I was meeting, they were not quite understanding what I was doing, unfortunately. Okay. So trying to explain to them, it's much more than just DJing. Or showing up to play music. It's actually a talent. You know what I mean? So people don't get that sometimes.
I don't just plug it in and go, woo!
Like, party up, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't typically always happen like that.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the same goes for a lot of people, right? It's like, why can't we just take photos on our phone or videos on our phone? There's a whole other multiple layers of things that go into what we do. I think when I think about what I wish we had told ourselves earlier, I wish we had like a mentor. I feel like that's one of the main things, is like, it would have been so nice to have somebody like us just sort of be like, do this, Yeah. But it's not the case for most people, sadly.
The one thing I would probably go back on is, instead of doing hotel management that I did back in the day, I probably would have done an MBA, just to really understand, business as a whole, and it probably would have projected me much faster in some capacity, and brought different elements of business or created different businesses. So,
I think that's an issue for a lot of us creatives that do art, is that we do something that we're passionate about and we really love it. Learning the business side is usually where a lot of us struggle, is the networking and the sales side of it.
Correct, yeah, because we're not salespeople, we're creative, right? So we kind of wear that hat, but it's not quite comfortable,
When you set out to become a DJ, I'm sure that's not what you were dreaming about.
No, definitely not. Doing payroll and accounting and all that, which we didn't talk about, but unfortunately it's part of the business.
Yeah, right, and those are the types of things that can really, make or break, I feel like, a lot of people, is that they don't really understand that there's so much more that goes into just clicking the button or pressing the buttons, right? And I'm so glad that you shared that.
And I know for you, what's really important, one of the things that I just get from your vibe is that managing your finances is obviously a big part of what you do. Is that something that you learned and started doing right away? Or is that a learning curve through your business?
Unfortunately, I've done some mistakes on that front. I've had to call bank dad a few times. It's like, hey, I owe this much in HST, can you spot me? Yeah. It's like, and then I'll pay you through the year, but you got to still figure out a way to put money aside for the next year or the current year that's going on. It's a bad cycle to be in, So now I've put processes in place where, I have actually 3 bank accounts. That's business only. So I have my main bank account. I have a tax bank account. That money from the main bank account goes into the tax account automatically. Yeah. And then I also have a profit account.
Are there any tools that you haven't talked about? I know we talked a lot about your CRM. Is there any other tools that you find very helpful in your business that you'd highly recommend to others in a similar business as yours?
Before we talk about tools specifically, one thing I do want to mention is, for me, I use technology at the core of my business. And that's, fundamental because, first off, I'm a little bit of a geek and I love tech. Okay. But I like to automate as much as I can for it to sound as natural as possible without having to sound like everything has been scheduled and so on. So if I email someone, it kind of needs to sound like me. So that's the first thing. On the tools specific, the app that I refer to that our clients get access to, the app that we use, it's called Vibo. Okay. VIBO. Michael, you're welcome. He's the CEO of the company. I've been using this tool probably since, it was before COVID, probably since 2018. Okay. Yeah, I was using other tools before, but what I love about that one is it's app-based, so it's in your phone. And so you have access to me 24/7. You think of a song or you hear a song on radio, you Shazam it, you know what it is, you go into the app and then you add it right away, onto, your music list for your wedding or your event. Okay. So it's super handy on that. You can schedule the whole day. The planning side is really handy for me to kind of know where you want to take the entertainment. You got your wedding planner for the day, but my planning system is entertainment driven. Like it has really that focus. What's happening here? Who's your officiant? What song do you want for the ceremony? Is there any timelines that you want for that song for the ceremony to start and end? These kind of things, you know what I mean? So it really has a focus on what the DJ needs to know. Yeah. So that's one of the tools I use exclusively for the DJ.
Do you find you have to educate your clients a little bit on how to use the tool?
In some cases, yes. But in most cases, no. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Everything is done box by box, so you can really follow along. So you got the box for the ceremony information, and then the pre-ceremony music, and then all the songs that you would like for the actual ceremony. Okay. So everything is pretty self-explanatory. Usually when I do a consult with a couple, I'll actually do a quick demo so they get an idea, and I can show a couple of nuggets that are into the app.
Last but not least, how can people find you?
Online, of course. Website is dynamixpro.ca. That's dynamixpro.ca. Dynamix Productions for Instagram. And I'm not on TikTok. Sorry. But Facebook is at Dynamix Pro. Silent Beats Events is the website, silentbeatsevents.com for the headphones. And then on Instagram as well, Silent Beats Events. Okay. Yeah.
And then do you have a separate website for the DIY DJ?
Yeah, DIYDJOttawa.ca. Okay. And then for the photo booths, it's dynamixphotobooth.ca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Oh, it was awesome. Thank you so much for being here and
telling
us all about your life. I'm super clammy, so.
I am
Me
not.
too, a little bit, actually.
Yeah.